Another tough day in the Aurora Theater shooting trial. The very first witnesses called to the stand, people who were in the theater that night and shot, like Katie Medley and her husband Caleb. 7 News reporter Marshall Zellinger in the courtroom all day. Marshall, Medley said she had a choice between saving her husband and her unborn child.
And she told the jury in a very emotional moment that because she was so pregnant, she had to save her unborn child and leave her husband Caleb in the theater. Now, from my seat in the gallery, I can only see the right half of the jury, and it appeared that at least 2 of them were close to tears as Katie described having to make middle-of-the-night phone calls 1 week before her due date that had nothing to do with an arrival of a new baby.
And that was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, was calling my parents and calling Caleb's parents, because they all thought that I was calling to tell them that I was going into labor. And instead, I got to tell them all that Caleb had been shot and was probably dead.
So was Caleb able to be there for the birth of your child?
No, he was literally in brain surgery when I was in labor.
Caleb was the second to testify this morning. He was wheeled to the witness stand. His injury so severe he has trouble communicating, but he understands. He had to answer questions with the use of a blown-up spelling board twice. When asked if he was married to Katie and if he went to the Batman movie, he pointed to the letters Y-E-S. This afternoon, the only person to take the witness stand that was not in the theater at the time of the shooting was Aurora Police Sergeant Mike Hawkins. He described going into Theater 9 expecting a gunfight, and when he got inside, he found 6-year-old Veronica Mosier-Sullivan on the floor and talked about trying to get her help.
I looked down at her and I realized that she was probably gone.
Where did you take her?
I took her due west of the theater, and I found an ambulance there, and they had their stretcher out, and I laid her on the stretcher, and at that point I realized that she had died.
The juror in the third seat cried for a few minutes after this testimony, and at the end of today's testimony, we heard a 911 call from inside the theater. Tomorrow, we haven't heard officially, but they hinted at it today that we were going to hear another 911 call, and if it's the one we heard at the preliminary hearing back in January 2013, it will be the first 911 call made from inside the theater at 12:38 a.m. That call is 27 seconds, and you will hear more than 30 gunshots. Reporting live, Marshall Zellinger, 7 News.
Thank you, Marshall. And today we are hearing from another family member of a victim, talking to her outside the courtroom. This is Ashley Mosier's aunt, Mary Ellen Hansen, sharing what she hopes will ultimately come out of this trial and hoping it's over soon.
It's been held over our heads for way too long, and I think we're all looking for closure to this and to get it over with so that people can move on the best they can.
As you know, Ashley was in the theater with her 6-year-old daughter, Veronica Mosier-Sullivan, when they were shot, and Veronica was the youngest victim of that shooting. She died, and the then 25-year-old Ashley was badly hurt, suffering a miscarriage, and she is now a quadriplegic. Now, a reminder, you can watch the theater trial as it's happening. 7 News is providing live coverage from inside that courtroom every day through the 7 News app, and of course, you can see coverage right here on our 7 Newscasts.